Let's bring in Leo Terrell, civil rights attorney and Fox News contributor, and attorney Brian Claypool. Gentlemen, good to have both of you with us. This is obviously very emotional testimony. I should point out that we have seen emotional testimony from Daunte Wright's family as well over the course of this trial. Leo, culpable negligence is what this jury would need to find she had, right, in order to charge her with manslaughter and to find her guilty of manslaughter. What really stood out to you today in terms of the moments that you think this jury will be pondering the most as they go into that decision-making room?
And thank you for that question, Martha. I'm going to give you both sides as an attorney for both sides if I was playing both the prosecutor and defense. I think Potter was very believable. I think she's tremendously sympathetic. I think she's honestly, truly hurting, and she was expressing a lot of remorse for her mistake, her error. She made a mistake, and she knows it. And I think those tears were real. If I'm the prosecutor, I have to be very happy for a couple of reasons. The worst thing a witness should do is say, I don't remember. And I think a couple of times when the prosecutor asks her questions and she says, I don't remember, that draws into her credibility. Her credibility comes into play. I also believe the issue of her expressing remorse is going to be very important. But she's a veteran police officer. So the question here is, what threat did she see, and was the accident something that a veteran police officer would have done? I don't think this prosecutor was out of line, Martha. She had to get these points across to the jury because she's going to make these points in her closing argument. But I think Potter is a believable witness.
Yeah, I think you touch on exactly the right point, and that is, was Sergeant Johnson in danger? So was it merited for her to pull either the taser, which she says she was planning to pull? And that is a lot of what we saw Aaron Eldridge going at. And if people recognize these people, Aaron Eldridge was also involved in the Derek Chauvin case, as was the other attorney who's in the room as well, Mark Frank. So let's watch. This is a little bit of a long exchange, but I think it's worth watching. And I'd like to then get Brian's take on where we are with all of this. Watch this.
You'd agree that as a police officer, you have the duty to render aid and communicate information to other officers, right?
Yes.
And it's part of your job to assist those who are hurt or injured, true?
Yes.
And to communicate to other officers what you know about a particular scene, right?
Yes.
Give them whatever information you can to help them do their jobs, to help render assistance, things like that, right?
Yes.
But you didn't do any of those things on April 11th, did you?
No.
You stopped doing your job completely. You didn't communicate what happened over the radio, right?
No.
You didn't make sure any officers knew what you had just done, right?
No.
You didn't run down the street and try to save Daunte Wright's life, did you?
No.
You didn't check on the other car that had been hit, did you?
No.
That all happened just down the road from you.
Yes.
You were focused on what you had done, because you had just killed somebody. Right?
I'm sorry it happened. I'm so sorry.
Brian Claypool, let me bring you back in and just correct myself. It's Matthew Frank, who is the Attorney General in this case. I also want to let everybody know that the jury's been sent home. They will begin their deliberations on Monday. That's another thing that everybody will have to take into account, that they're going to have a really 48-hour cooling off period between this final testimony and when they begin deliberations. So, Brian Claypool, your thoughts on that interaction that we just watched?
Yeah, hey, Martha, thanks for having me back, and Merry Christmas. I think Leo will agree with me. We both handled shooting death cases in California involving police officers. And the argument, if you're making the argument, gee, the police officer should have rendered medical aid and the police officer should have tried to save the life of somebody they just shot, that's not going to work with the jury because these police officers aren't paramedics. But with that said, I think both sides score points. Let's talk about the prosecution for a moment. I think the prosecution did a good job of letting the jury see the totality of the circumstances. So where's the starting point here? One of the most powerful pieces of evidence the prosecution got out today, she got Potter to admit, I would not have pulled this car over. That makes this case bigger than just the state of Minnesota versus Kim Potter, Martha. That brings into question training and police practices across the country. In other words, if you as a police officer create an unreasonable risk, are you then justified in relying, gee, I made a mistake in using deadly force? And when she says, I wouldn't have pulled him over, I mean, this encounter probably should have never happened. And another quick piece of evidence that I think is really powerful was when the prosecutor showed the picture of a taser right next to the gun, Martha, it was profound. I mean, when you grab the handle of a taser, it's like that big. The gun is like that big.
Yeah.
And then she showed a picture. She showed a picture of Kim Potter holding the gun. So there was time that was lapsed between holding the gun and shooting the gun. That is powerful because that establishes, I think, that Potter knew she had a gun in her hand. And I think that does potentially rise to culpable negligence.
Yeah. She, at one point, Erin Eldridge said, do you know your left from your right? Right? To Kim Potter. And she said, yes. I got to go, but I want to get one more quick answer from you, Leo. She said she had never fired her weapon before, never fired her gun before, never fired her taser before. Quick thought before we head out.
Oh, all that is irrelevant to what she did on that given day, what she knew at that time, what threat did she see, and what actions did she take. It's what happened that day is going to be the determining factor. And I'll say this, the jury, this is a case on facts. The jury's going to deal with this case, and we don't know what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah. Complicated and complex, to be sure. A lot of emotion on that stand today from Kim Potter. And as I said, we've seen a lot of emotion throughout the course of this trial from Daunte Wright's family as well, and also from the officer who she was training. Gentlemen, thank you. Brian Claypool and Leo Terrell, always good to have both of you with us.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.